Hey, welcome to Facts at 5. I'm Michael Clark. It is Friday, June the 19th. I'm here with Town Supervisor Peter Van Scoyoc. Hello, Peter.
Hi, Michael. Thanks for having me back on the show.
Well, thanks for joining us. And I wanted to get right to it and talk a little bit about Governor Cuomo and some of the things that he's been up to and how those things might impact the East End, if I could. We could start with the legislative package that he laid out, I guess, last Friday, called the Say Their Name Agenda, which New York bans New York banned officers from using chokeholds, prohibiting false 911 calls that are based on someone's race, and made the state attorney general the independent prosecutor in killings of unarmed citizens by police. And it's also part of the legislation was that the statute known as 50-A, which I previously made disciplinary records of police officers, corrections and probation officers, firefighters, and other first responders confidential. Now, I guess they will be. So now he's also mandated that you need to develop reform plans with community input in order to be eligible for state funding, and the agencies have to do that by April 2021. So what's your feeling on that, Peter, and how's that going in terms of the town of East Hampton?
Well, it's obviously this is in response to, the horrific events that we've seen with, the death of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and others at the hands of police. I will say that here in East Hampton, we've benefited from having a terrific police force that is really engaged with the community. Those relationships are built up within the community, and community policing is the basis on which we enforce the laws here. We're always looking for compliance. We're looking for public safety. We want the public to feel comfortable calling the police in any situation. And I'm very proud of our force. We've, I think, led in many ways, and I don't think it's going to be very difficult for our department to adapt to whatever changes may be required. I suspect that some of those changes will already be in compliance with. And I know in talking with the chief, there's certainly a willingness to abide by whatever the new rules of engagement would be.
Any idea on what it would be in terms of community involvement in some of the decision making on that, or has that not been determined yet?
Well, I mean, we've already had and will continue to take community input. I know that there's been a lot of outreach to the Latino community. It's a relatively significant population within our jurisdiction. In terms of minorities, African American, the Black population is actually smaller than it was, 20, 30 years ago. It's declining. People are moving away. But, we've had a lot of engagement with the Latino community and other minorities, and I think that's something that has to continue. All sectors of our community have to feel safe and protected by the police. They have to be comfortable with the police. And I was really, quite proud of the fact that after that horrific drunk driving accident where a young man was killed on his bicycle in Montauk on Flamingo Road, late last year, that when I went to meet with something like 50 or 60 members of the Latino community who were looking to find out, would justice be done because the young woman's mother was a sitting judge and her stepfather was a retired judge. What I heard from the Latino community in Montauk was that they had built relationships with our police department, that they felt protected by and supported by our local police, that they had personal relationships with them. So the community outreach was evident to me. They said, we don't have concerns about the police. We have concerns about the judicial system. Will the judicial system treat this case fairly? And, I reassured them that I was first of all, I was very pleased to hear that about our police department. It doesn't surprise me.
Right.
But, the judicial matter I told them it would take time to work through that, but I had confidence in that as well. Obviously, that case hasn't been prosecuted yet. But so I think, there's always more to do. I don't think with any business or governmental agency that one can become complacent, that I think it's always a work in progress. There's always ways to better engage with the community. There's always ways to improve upon what you're doing, and we're open to that. But again, overall, I'm quite proud of our police force. It does only take one individual to have a situation like this, and there's been a great deal of training, sensitivity training, but again, I don't think we can become complacent, and we're supportive of this.
And Governor Cuomo also yesterday, in fact, signed an executive order allowing the state liquor authority to immediately suspend liquor licenses for bars or restaurants found to be violating the state's COVID-19 rules and regulations. Thought this was really interesting. And what are your thoughts on that? And especially with, now we're in 2 and heading right quickly towards phase 3, it seems. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, it's kind of unfortunate that he made the comments he did last Sunday in a press release, conference about the East End and, the Hamptons being one of the, the major problem areas. And, we're all
everybody seems surprised.
Everybody, the East End Chiefs, we're looking up the records, no complaints or just minor complaints, no major problems whatsoever. So, we're moving beyond that, but, right now we have, I believe it's 45 different businesses, which are operating outdoor dining now within the town. We've turned around that application process very quickly. There are a lot more opportunities for people to be out. Dining outside is the safest way to go to a restaurant right now. Those tables are to be appropriately spaced to allow for a 6-foot distance between patrons seated. You're supposed to be wearing a mask only until you're seated. Once you're seated, you can take the mask off and partake of your food and beverage. You have to follow all those same safety protocols, spacing out. If you're queuing in a line to pick up takeout food or to wait to be seated at the restaurant, you're supposed to be, 6 feet apart and wearing masks. Again, we're encouraging people to continue to wear masks whenever they're out in public, even when they're not 6 foot distant. This is one of the best ways to slow the spread of the disease. The disease is continuing to decline. There were only 0.7% positive cases in Suffolk County out of yesterday's test of 5,476. So that's a very low percentage of positives now. We're down to 110 COVID patients countywide hospitalized right now, and not that many weeks ago it was 1,500 or more. So this is a vast improvement. Again, it's because of everybody's efforts in social distancing and wearing masks and using good hygiene, washing your hands regularly, disinfecting surfaces. I expect the numbers will continue to decline. And if they do, then we'll be on to phase 3, June 24th. And that means that up to 50% of the occupancy of restaurants could be seated patrons indoors. We're going to allow for outdoor dining to continue in addition to the indoor. However, the total maximum occupancy that business is allowed on their CO can't be exceeded. They can distribute between the two, indoor and outdoor, whatever proportion they want, as long as they don't go more than 50% indoors, and that occupancy is based on patrons, not on staff.
Well, that's something to look forward to. I know the restaurant owners are, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
So what else is hot, Peter? What are you seeing for this weekend and or weekends to come? What's the big issue for you besides the obvious?
Well, the things that we're working on are, the potential use of the state right-of-way within the downtown hamlets for use for outdoor dining. We have an application that we received on last Friday and submitted it on Monday. The state's just gotten back to us today with a couple of additional requests for information. We've also talked, and we've met with the Montauk CAC rather, to discuss plans of the 1 day a week street closure. It's being proposed that we close Main Street at the Green on Thursdays, which coincides with the same day they have their farmers market. And additionally, we've talked about changing the directional flow of some of the streets in Montauk, primarily South Elmwood, would become a one-way eastbound, and that's just south of the highway at a very acute angle behind the Memory Motel, for those who are familiar with the location. And we'd like to route the traffic one way going east at that location. This would allow for additional pedestrian flow, and the idea is to get more separation of people within the business area for the most part. And it also will aid, obviously, when we do get that 1 day a week street closure. This is being done on a temporary basis, a pilot, if you will. See how it works out. It's definitely supported by the chief of police. It's been discussed as part of the traffic and parking circulation study that was done back in 2016, which, had supplemented the Hamlet studies, which we've just adopted. Again, the idea is to have a safer, more walkable downtown area, improving safety for pedestrians and bicycles, and to potentially add some additional parking along the roadways.
So this really is and we talked a little bit about this last week, it really is an opportunity for you to trial something in a lot of cases, right? Some of them are obviously temporary, but other things, you never know what the long-term results could be, right?
Right, and we're going to adapt. If we see that there are problems, we're going to work to solve those problems. And if it works out, we may expand it. And if it doesn't work out, we'll probably abandon it. So This, I think, is a good opportunity. As you say, we've all experienced a lot of change recently. Most of it's been unwelcome change. I think this is an adaptation which could actually bring long-term benefits to the area. And we'd like to give it a try. We did get significant support for this at the CAC and with the Business Recovery Committee as well. So we're expecting to try and implement this as soon as we get the necessary permissions. So stay tuned on that. Also, we recently voted our meeting yesterday to hire a communications firm to help us with communicating with the public. We know that LTV has been very good at helping us do that over the years and broadcasting our meetings and having shows like this. But we find that we still have a certain segment of the community which we don't seem to be able to reach effectively. Some of I think our social media presence could be improved, and this will help, communicate with the public. Our proposed things like this downtown street, closure and directional changes, and any other issue that comes up. We also just voted to grant about $1.1 million to various water quality improvement projects within the town. Everything from improving septic systems at some commercial and affordable housing projects, rain gardens and runoff improvements in Sag Harbor on the East Hampton side of the village. So these are also things that we're working on, have been working on, even though we're in the midst of this pandemic.
Yeah, it's kind of good to hear some other things, even though you've been doing them all along, that it just makes it seem like life is going on in a more normal way. It's good news to me. So, once again, Peter, thank you so much for taking the time and doing what you guys do over there. And, we appreciate you taking the time to, get your message out to the people. And like you said, communication is key. I don't think you can over communicate. So whatever avenues you need to make, multi-prong approach, right? That's the only way that, somewhere along the line, everybody's going to get some. So until next week, Peter, we'll see you, and have yourself a great weekend and a good week.
Great. Thanks so much, Michael. Everybody be well. Stay safe.
Be well. Thanks.
Today at Facts at 5, we're going to talk about bicycle riding on the East End. The amount of people who are going on their bicycles now that we can get out of it during COVID has been enormous. And we are here in Amagansett with the manager of the Beach and Bicycle Shop in Amagansett, Amanda Schall. Amanda, thanks for joining us. How are you?
Good, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Good. Well, thanks for doing this. I know how busy the store is, and I'm going to let you get back to that in a minute. Talk about what's going on at the Amagansett bike shop there. Tell me what's been happening since this all started in March. I know I was in there recently actually buying a new basket for my bicycle. Tell me the new protocol and what business has been like.
Yeah, so we've been selling out of all of our bikes. As soon as we get a shipment in, they basically sell out. And normally we sell 30 bikes by March, and we surpassed that so much. It's really hard for us to keep up with the demand. And we've been open because bike shops are considered an essential business, but we limit it to one customer at a time in the store, and everyone, of course, has to wear masks when they enter.
So let's talk about why you think people are getting back on their bicycles. I mean, in terms of safety, first of all, in terms of COVID, they're wearing masks. Because I know that I'm in the city actually right now, and I've been riding my bike, which I brought back from East Hampton. And I ride in Central Park, but I still wear a mask. Do you see people out there wearing masks while they're riding? And tell me what's going on there.
I would say it's a mix. Like, a lot of people aren't wearing masks while they're riding, but they should, because so many people are on the road that everyone is coming in contact with each other. And even if not a mask, then like maybe a buff or a bandana or just something to cover your face. But I think a lot of people just want to get outside and explore and feel like the sense of freedom that riding a bike gives you, and just to kind of connect with the environment in a way that is safe.
Yeah.
So
talk about safety. Like, I was riding the other day. This is my helmet, okay, which I got for free from it was like a giveaway, and I was actually wearing it backwards. And a guy in the middle of a protest pointed at me, and I thought, oh my God, what's going on? He goes, your helmet's on backwards. I literally, I do wear a helmet, but not always in the right way. Talk about safety in terms of not just COVID, but in general with riding a bike.
Sure. So a lot of new riders probably think that it's safer to ride on the sidewalk, but sidewalks are actually for pedestrians, and bikes should be on the road with cars. So in terms of safety, obviously wearing a helmet is your first line of defense, but also being really aware of your surroundings, especially when you're riding with traffic. So being able to, see behind you and look out for cars, as well as signaling to motorists where you are by wearing bright colored clothing, having lights on your bike, using hand signals, and following the rules of the road in terms of traffic laws. So as a bicycle, you should be stopping at stop signs, you should be stopping at red lights, and just kind of pretending like you're a car in terms of signaling and any other rules. And that's the safest thing that you can do, is to make yourself as visible as possible, and let other people make your movements predictable.
Are there certain times of day when you think it's better to be bike riding in terms of safety and weather and other riders and traffic?
I mean, people are going to be out on the road whenever, and a lot of people also commute by bike, especially because I'm sure in the city people don't want to be on the subway. So I think there's been a surge in people buying bikes so that they can commute or go to the grocery store without having to take public transportation. So in that way, you can't really plan your, when you're going to be biking unless it's just a pure pleasure ride. But early in the morning, there's probably going to be less traffic, less cars on the road, which would be safer. And it's still like the same rules apply. If you can ride at night, just make sure that you have a light on your bike. And you can ride, at dusk or early in the morning if it's dark out, as long as, again, you have the proper clothing that is bright and you have lights on your bike, and wearing a helmet.
That's cool. Let me talk about how you outfit a bicycle properly, if at all. I have one of those little ring, ring, corny bells. I'm going to show a picture of my bike, and I actually just replaced my basket, which I bought at your store, because somebody in the city stole my basket. Who would steal a basket from a bike? Apparently, but they didn't steal the thing that anchored the basket. So I got a new basket, but that bicycle, which I got from friends actually out in East Hampton, their tag sale, they just said, take it, has been my lifesaver during this COVID-19, honestly. I feel so free with it, and I feel like I'm mobile, and I feel distance from people in a way that I don't necessarily when I'm walking. But what else do I need? I have the bell, I have a basket for when I add stuff, and I carry groceries sometimes on my shoulder. I've got my helmet. Is there anything else that I need to do? Do I need to check it a certain amount of times, or?
Every time you go out on a ride, you should check your tire pressure and make sure that you have enough air in your tires. That'll make it an easier ride, more comfortable ride, and it's always good to look over your bike so that you're not stranded with a flat. I also recommend a water bottle cage, especially in the heat of the summer. It's important to stay hydrated, so carrying water with you is important. Sunscreen, another important one. It's mostly kind of common sense. I also, like to just check over the bike, make sure the gears are working. You can carry a spare tube with you, which in case you do get a flat, and you can carry tire levers and a little mini bike pump that you can attach to your bike, or even just like a patch kit. So then if you do get a flat, you're not stranded and you can take care of it yourself.
Wow, I might have to get a patch kit. The gears came off my bike actually in the middle of Central Park, and I put them on manually. I don't know how I did that. There's no AAA for bicycles yet, right? It's like no, it would be nice. Let me ask you quickly, in terms of the type of bicycles, especially on the East End, which is relatively flat, except for a few little bumps and hills. What kind of bikes are people looking at? What kind of bikes are you selling? And I also want to ask you after that about a bicycle for a child. My daughter's 6, and I really want her to learn to ride.
Sure. Yeah, so everyone really likes the fitness style bike, which is like a flat bar road bike or a hybrid. That has gears. Unfortunately, they were the first bikes to sell out. So now we have trouble getting them, and we've been selling a lot of e-bikes. We have e-bikes available, the Electra Townie Go, which are really fun to ride. And it's kind of like a cruiser style bike, but then it has an electric assist, which will help get you up hills and will make riding just really fun and easy. So if you normally think about going on like a 10-mile ride, taking an e-bike, you can easily do twice that and twice as fast. So we've been selling a bunch of those, and people have been really enjoying them for things like going grocery shopping or going on a longer ride and being able to carry things on their bike without it feeling like they can't, like it's too hard to pedal or too difficult to carry everything.
I have a lock on my bike, which works great. I do like that. I don't know. You have to lock your bike, right, when you go into a store. You don't have to, but again, somebody took a basket from me, so I don't know.
Well, because there's a shortage on bikes, I think that, it's not so much stealing for the value, but because they can't buy their own bike, perhaps. I always lock up a bike.
Amanda, in terms of getting your child started to ride in riding a bicycle, what do you recommend in general in terms of what to look for them? type of bike? Training wheels, not size.
Okay, well, for a 6-year-old, it's probably a 16-inch bike. Depending on how tall she is, it could be either 16-inch wheels or 20-inch wheels. And then a lot of people like to do the balance bike way, so no training wheels, no pedals, and it's kind of more like a scooter with a seat. So they can sit on the seat and use their legs to propel them around, and then they learn how to balance that way. And then after they get comfortable on the balance bike, you can switch them to, a just regular 2-wheel bike with pedals. And since they already have the balancing part learned, then it's more about how to push on the pedals and use their legs. And I've heard a lot of parents that really love that technique because the training wheels can be kind of too much of a safety net, and then there's fear involved when you take them off. But the fear is sort of removed when you go from balance bike right to the 2-wheel bike.
Okay. And also wanted to ask you, I know it's the Amagansett Beach and Bicycle Shop. Let's talk about the beach part and kayaking. In terms of people renting kayaks, what is the protocol now for that? And do you see people coming in wanting to get back on the water?
So we have plenty of kayaks and stand-up paddle boards for sale. And we also do rentals. The rentals, we deliver them to your property, or you can pick them up in the store. We are going to be, with phase 2 opening up, we're going to be able to do more kayak rentals and hopefully be able to set up a trailer down by the beach, but that hasn't started yet. Hopefully by the end of the month, we'll have that going.
That's great. Anything else you want to tell us in terms of the summer ahead?
No, just be patient with us because I know bike shops all around Long Island are just super overwhelmed with the volume. So it's taking us a little while to get everything done, but we're working hard.
Yeah. Well, Amanda, Schall, and everybody at the Amagansett Beach and Bicycle Shop, thank you so much for your time. And we're so glad that you're essential and thriving as a business. And I know that it's going to be a challenging summer, but you're doing it. And we love you guys. So thank you.